Have you ever noticed that when you think being repetitive is a bad thing, you may end up driving yourself insane over something that's not even that big of a deal? Well, that's what Lincoln found out in the episode I'm going to talk about today. So join me as I, SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. Cue the intro! Today's episode is predictability. In this episode, Lincoln worries he's becoming too predictable and tries to be more unpredictable by doing something different every day. I'm not even going to outright say this episode truly lives up to its title because that would be too obvious. What I will say is this episode is pretty much what Lincoln fears others think of him and his daily routines. Boring. Only to an extent do I sympathize with his plight because I've had people call me out on my daily routines and easily predict what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it before I even say or do anything. That's what happens to Lincoln at the beginning of the episode, and he has a nightmare about how supposedly boring he has become. This leads to the middle part of the episode with him breaking away from his regular pattern of behavior, and it was something. He wears a variety of different outfits with the intent of having a different wardrobe every day, changes up how he conducts himself out in public, and even goes so far as to eat food he knows is disgusting but doesn't want to look predictable by eating the same meal twice. Now, even though I will say as many costume changes were a little goofy and amusing, I kinda knew where all of this was going. It led to Lincoln having another nightmare, this time being a bit freakier. Once again, he fears that he's become too boring when his friends and family call him out on doing crazy things he's already done before, even though nothing was part of a daily routine. Thinking he can no longer keep up with being unpredictable, this is where we come to the ending where Lincoln proclaims his boringness to everyone and how he can't help having routines. Then everyone reassures him that there's nothing wrong with having routines because they all have them. Speaking of which, and I don't know if this is considered a fourth wall break, but I like the very subtle nod to the fact Lola and Lori point out how they wear the same clothes every day. Whether that acknowledgement was all part of the design or by complete accident, those are still very clever pieces of dialogue. But you know, it was rather off-putting for some of his sisters to make comments and belittle their brother for his routines, and yet they weren't exactly being unpredictable themselves. Lincoln should have called them out on their own bullcrap. I'm not sure why he didn't. But yeah, Lincoln really had nothing to worry about, which is more than I can say for his best friend, which brings me to my biggest negative of the episode. I really did not like the way Clyde was presented. He was slowly losing his mind because Lincoln was being unpredictable and making changes to who he was. Not even bad life-threatening changes, and yet Clyde felt the need to seek counseling because of what Lincoln was doing. Just why? He was bawling his eyes out and begging Lincoln to never change again. At least not while Dr. Lopez is out of town. I don't know what could have caused this kid to slowly and mentally spiral out of control at the idea of his friend trying to do something a little different in his life, but good lord, Clyde looked pathetic as this episode played out. To think, this is the same kid who nearly decided to go down the dangerous ramp of insanity back in season 2 just to prove a point to his dads. In this episode, he comes off as a sniveling wimp slowly going off the deep end. Seriously, just the idea of Lincoln being project partners with Stella instead of choosing the guy he's been partnering with since kindergarten was enough to freak him out. Just come on now. Like I said, this episode did Clyde's character absolutely no favors, and it's one of his worst performances of the series by far. Overall, this is one of the most boring and mediocre episodes of season 3, even though the idea sounded good on paper. Lincoln tries to prove he can be a bit more spontaneous and ends up learning that you don't have to be so random for people to consider you interesting. Clyde and the Lau sisters are what really drove this episode down. In hindsight, the situation with Clyde may have indirectly kickstarted the whole "we can't change and must stick together" mentality that is later touched upon in future episodes focusing on Lincoln's friend group. The only thing I found even remotely entertaining was Lincoln and his many costume changes. You know it's not a good sign when something as minor as changing out of normal clothes and into something goofier and out of left field is more enjoyable than anything else. With that said, I give predictability a 5.6 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of predictability. So I gotta ask, what what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.